Hey YouTube, what's up? Today we are back. We got another tutorial coming your way. We're going to paint up the Terminator for Dark Fate. If you've been sleeping on this, there is a new Terminator movie coming out. Arnold's back. And of course, it's one of them movies that are aimed for a demographic of, middle-aged, out-of-shape white guys that, are trying to relive their youth a little bit. Sign me up. Anyway, guys, we're going to start out. We're going to mix up a pale yellow, and then we're going to mix up a fleshy tone. I'm going to put that on a splash screen. This painting is going to be all done paint on paint. This is on canvas. It'll be a lot less complex than some of the last couple of tutorials we had. But let's get on to it, man. All right, there's that pale yellow, and then we're going to move into a little fleshy tone look right there, and we're going to blend those together. We didn't worry about overspray whatsoever because we're going to work light to dark, of course, within reason. And then I am going to mix up, once I get that fleshy tone in there, I'm going to mix up a dark reddish brown. You'll see, and then of course I use my shield around there because you want that edge crisp off the suit. I'm not going to be done with it here, but this is just getting the color in there first. Going to get another layer of color later. It's important to notice how it's got that reddish brown tone that I've mixed up there, and kind of a dirty reddish brown tone. When your chrome is, even though it's in the shadows, it's going to take on some of that coloring from the sun in the background there, so it's important not to come immediately into a black or something like that. As a matter of fact, we're going to use some black in this painting, but it's going to be very much towards the end, so just keep that in mind. And then we're going to do our gradients and blend in there. Of course, we're using a shield to create some crisp edges. We're laying out some basic structures here. Going to come in and work around the teeth a little bit. Then I'm going to go in here after I get some of those basic colors in there. Then I'm going to mix up a tan color, and that tan color is going to go in those teeth, and you wouldn't think that tan color is going to look right at all, but as you see the finished piece, that actually works out. Once I get that tan color in there, I'm going to mix a mid-shade gray, and it might have a little bit of blue tones in there, and I'm going to come in here freehand around in the teeth a little bit, and then we're going to, blend that in here and there. We're creating those reflections with this mid-tone gray. We're going to tone the teeth in, give them a little bit of shape and structure, a little bit of freehanding, but we're not getting nothing crazy or too carried away right now until it looks something like that. We've got that lower jaw. All right, guys, now that we've got a little bit of this tan in here, we got this mid-tone gray in here, we're going to go ahead and mix up this light shade that sticks out in the back. So, and that's going to be a little bit lighter gray than this mid-tone gray. This mid-tone gray is about a 60% gray, so it's not even close to black, even though it looks really dark on the screen right now. This next shade of gray we're going to mix up is going to have a little bit of blue to it, and it's going to be maybe a 30% gray. So, and then we're going to go in here and just kind of put some rough shape and form in the background. All right, guys, you can just load up the brush and you can really just rock and roll through here. Yeah, you're going to have a little bit of shield work to do, but it's not a whole lot. Just come in here, start creating some form very loosely. Don't have to use a lot of shield. And notice I'm using my texture stencil to create some rough edges there. Any texture you put in here, we're going to continue to work dark. Any texture you put in here is not going to be too much. Within any kind of reason. So just go in here, rock and roll, and base that color in there just in a loose, semi-structured shape. Notice I'm using my finger just to keep overspray off of the teeth there. All right, guys, we got to mix up a little bit of kind of a reddish violet tone. So we're going to mix up some red violet, and then we're going to put a little bit of yellow in there. Tone that down just a little bit so it's not too vibrant. Pay attention, even though I've added white here later, but pay attention as we go on the screen how these pale colors we put in at first, as you do start to darken here, will appear brighter. If any of you guys have watched my color theory stuff, I've talked about simultaneous contrast. I'm going to get that video out soon. But that's how it's going to increase the vibrancy, by increasing the darkness. So when a dark is next to a light, it's going to appear brighter. Before I got that red tone in there, you see I'm mixing it up, just kind of shading in a little bit of those mechanical pieces where that wire is going to come out of his jawline. Notice the crisp edge versus the gradient edge. Anytime you have a sharp break, you're going to need a sharp line, and that's what's going to create that look. And then the more rounded something is, of course, the more gentle the gradient is. Just like there's some slight gradients coming off of those indented parts of the armor there. They have a break in them, but it's a slight gradient, so you don't want that edge too crisp. One thing you can do is pull your shield up a little bit off of the surface a little bit to, still have a fairly sharp edge, but not so crisp that it gets that stencily look. And I'm just creating a little bit of structure in there in the teeth. Notice how, any place that we are sunk in is, of course, going to be darker than the places that are not. And then we're going to work our gradient on our teeth. I've actually darkened that mix up just a little bit more. It's still got them reddish tones to it, just added a little bit more darkness to it, which I believe I may have just added a little bit of touch of black to it. But as I was saying, with those gradients, your teeth are slightly rounded, so we're having those gentle gradients that go in there to coincide with the teeth. But we also got reflections coming off it, so that kind of makes it a little bit different. But you can tell I'm still using this red tone here, and we're going to go in here and use a texture stencil a little bit and just create some of that, just continue to darken in that armor across there. All right, guys, I am going to do a little bit of cheating. Yeah, cheating. I'm going to use a Posca paint pen to put in these really crisp lines right here. I'm going to leave you guys some links on the materials I use down below in the description. And then where it seems like this complicated mess of wires here, I got to thinking, I was like, man, what do I got that looks like a bunch of wires? Well, heck, man, I got a bunch of wires. So I'll detail that out, this section right here, how I get this. I'm going to use some wires to create this illusion. And after I darken in on top of it, it'll look realistic enough. Do I care about cheating? No, I don't care about cheating. You think Carl cares about when he's shooting, who's Carl? Carl is the guy that Arnold Schwarzenegger's playing in the movie, man. He's a T-800 who has aged. I don't know, I ain't seen it yet, brother. But anyway, he's shooting Rev 9, who's the bad guy, in the head with a 50 cal. And then you got Sarah Connor out there with a bazooka. Hey, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, brother. Oh, may have lied a little bit. That's not a Posca paint pen, but it is a paint pen. I usually use Poscas, but I was out. So anyway, what I got there is some Sculpey wire. You get that at craft stores. And I'm going to come in here and lay the Sculpey wire in there, let that crisscross on itself and lay in there. And of course, you're going to have to add a little bit more to it. You can't just lay it in there as is and hope for the best. But once I start shadowing from the outside and filling those shadows in, then it's going to look all right. You see how I used that shield? I didn't have the right radius there. See how I used that shield to create the radius I needed by turning it. Also notice how I just created some mechanical looking stuff just by using the edge of my shield and running down really quick and easy stuff. So you see how I'm detailing out that wire, and after we get all the darks in around it and it gets buried in the background, it's going to look like I put a lot of work into it, and really I didn't. It's actually a pretty simple process to get through that. Continuing to darken in. Not even at, as you can tell, this still has that little reddish tone to it. We're not at black, and we're going to use our shield where we need to and darken in where we need to, freehanding in around that section on the bottom because I need it to be just slightly blurry because the light in the background would create a little bit of blur. But not everywhere. On that one side it's going to be sharp. On the other side where the sun would be hitting it, it's a little bit out of focus. and continuing to blend that in. So you see some of those mechanical shapes we made, I don't need to be perfect with them, because by the time we put all the darks in around them, they're going to kind of blend off into themselves. And you're going to see me in a second use my stencil or the shield to create those lines right there. I'll create those lines and then I'll blend them in from the middle to make it look like, a rounded bunch of metal structure in there. Going real slow here, showing you in detail how I'm blending that in, how light I'm working with that color. And now I'm being a little intentional about how I want that, and just killing the spots that stick out and look bad while I'm darkening in as well. All right, guys, let's rock and roll through here and get all these shapes around here. Start darkening this outside. The mix we're going to have right now is going to be a violet mixed with a little bit of black to give us a darker tone than what we've got. Eventually, I'm going to come in with a true black on this outer edge here, but we'll do that later on. So right now, we're going to come in with this violet tones. Come in here, we'll start knocking all this stuff out. Quit laughing about my bald spot, would you? Alright guys, nothing difficult at all here. A little bit of crisp lines, we use a shield for that. Deepen in those grooves up above those teeth, even though, he's not really a skull. It still takes on that same appearance as a real life skull does. I'm going to use a texture shield, of course, or a stencil where we need to. And then we're going to use a texture stencil quite a bit, just to create a lot of modeling effect. And that modeling just create a sense of, a realism effect. This is not a chrome. This is a dark chrome. The Rev 9, that's who this actually is, in case y'all didn't know. This is the Rev 9. This is the bad guy who takes on a couple different forms. But, not really important. And as always, you just have to use that nice crisp edge where you have those sharp breaks. A little bit of modeling work right there. I'm going to continue that all the way around, darken it up. The spots where I use the paint pen, it's important if you use a paint pen on something like that, you have to know that you're going to be blending out from them, because the lines will be too crisp. And I know that sounds silly, that I wanted a crisp edge, but the lines are too crisp. Yes, those paint pens will stick out and be very, very ugly. So if you're going to use them, make sure you know when to. Okay, guys, that's going to have to be it for today. I'll have part 2 out by Thursday for this one. So today is Tuesday. I'm going to have this uploaded here in the next hour from the time I finish recording this. So Thursday, I will have part 2 up for you guys. So make sure you check it out Thursday. Hope you guys got something out of it. Those of you who've never been to our channel before, hey, if you like what you see, remember, hit the subscribe button, like, share the video, all that good stuff. I'm going to drop some links down in the comments below. It might take me, or in the description below, so for parts I use. So if you guys get a chance, check them out. Those will be affiliate links. You know how those work. But anyway, that's going to be it for today. We'll see you guys Thursday. Until then, I'll be back.